All right, number two. So I wanted to say also, by the way, hi Casper, always. And as an update, so it's kind of wild, but it's entirely true, I swear. So I was trying to keep busy, and I decided to, use something of my time meaningfully. I wanted to invent a new chapstick, and because I had all these ideas for chapstick. I mean, there's so much potential in that market. So I actually got together. It's been a while, right? It's been 3 months. Did a whole bunch of research. My business kind of went by the side. I'm not really doing that much anymore. Kind of abandoned the project. Went horribly. It just, yeah, just a long story. But anyway, so now I'm doing this chapstick thing, right? And I actually have a prototype here I wanted to show you guys. So, well, specifically Casper, because he's the only one who watches this. This is the prototype, and I've named it Chapstick. Okay, guys. All right. So I wanted as well to clarify. Anyways, it's a dumb joke. Okay. Uh, sorry, I don't know why I'm like compulsively needing to say just need to get it out of my system. Keep talking, keep talking. So I've got notes here, but yes. So I wanted to clarify the study that I talked about last time. It had to do with the stroke thing and all that. So to clarify on this, and I'll just read off my notes here, so I don't have to look at you and try to talk at the same time, Casper. Someone's gonna say even decades later, the increase is there for stroke risk. A heart attack is also there, but socioeconomic status seems to influence that somehow. It's just the studies as they've come out. The stroke risk is actually there and is increased, and again, it can be there for decades later. So the thing is that there's a lot of different and interesting technology coming out in the longevity space, and the funny thing is that this is a really important note to keep track of, so to speak, as well. Is that I have a radical kind of conception in mind. The way it's so funny because like last time it was like this too. Anyways, just a radical sort of statement. Just so I contend that the very moment that cryonic freezing was discovered, immortality was as well. So what is cryonic freezing? There's cryogenic freezing, then there's cryonic freezing. Sorry, cryonic freezing is specifically for like humans or taking a biological being. It's one of the two, but in the very least, it applies directly to humans, and it's taking them, freezing them. There's a number of ways to do this. I suppose a popular method is to replace your. It's going to sound kind of crazy, but replace your blood with antifreeze, and then putting your body into liquid nitrogen. I believe is what it is. So there's that kind of point being about it is that if you can prevent the decaying of a body, then at some point, so long as the body is able to be kept together, it would be all then the more possible for future technology to come along and say, we're going to be able to, on the cellular level, reconstruct your cells, any sort of damage, revitalize you, however the hell Frankenstein bullshit goes on. I don't know. That's it. So there's that. That's an example. I mean, it's almost kind of a tangent. Sorry, Casper. Point being is that there's a lot of different things coming out, but in terms of longevity, and with that context in mind, my point is I'm not trying to die at 60 because I work too hard. I realized that there's two things really at play here is that there's natural limitations that I have as well. Particularly at this stage, I have to work with other people, and other people work at a 9 to 5 sort of pace, 5 days of the week. So, I mean, even though I work on Saturdays too, it's different though, and it's realtors and all that sort of stuff. So, point being is that I can only do so much. I mean, there's literal limitations in terms of what I can do. And as far as the days that I have off, which are Sunday and Monday, I've still been quite regularly busy on those days, taking care of various necessities, business extraneous requirements, and those sorts of things. Though I've just now I've been setting myself up for volunteering. So I'll be doing that next Monday. I'd like to do something meaningful and valuable with my time. So that kind of thing. I mean, the book's coming along and that sort of thing. I don't know. I mean, it's wild. I mean, you ask me, and this is such a regular experience. You ask me, what have you been doing, by the way, just like, today or just, on the Sundays and Mondays when you have off? Like, what are you actually doing? And I'll just look at you right in the eye and I'll say something meaningful because I don't really actually know why or how I'm spending all this time just doing shit, but I am. Anyways, I'm rambling. So there's that. Just context in mind, that sort of a thing. But hey, I'm trying to do something that's valuable with my time. Anyways, also, yeah, we do need to talk about this one. So I didn't want it to be like this, but it's gonna kind of have to be like that. So for this video, it's mostly Trump. So Trump got elected this year, and that's fantastically bad. So so over the next several minutes here, I'm going to be going over kind of a list of like diagnosing, analyzing what he's done and the projection as well for how his second term now will likely proceed. It will. So there's a couple of really important aspects to what's happened recently that are particularly bad. And I don't even know if this happened over the last 3 months, but this happened recently with the Supreme Court. So funny enough, it was a ruling of Trump v. the United States of America. And it went to them. It was this court case, blah, blah, blah. Point being is not what happened, but the conclusion. The conclusion, I mean, it's literally the court case is just Trump v. United States. So, look it up if you want. Year 2024. So, what happened as a conclusion is that the right leaning conservative Supreme Court, because of course they have to be within that dichotomy in themselves as well, they couldn't possibly be third party or transcendent, just, anyways. So, as a conclusion, what they concluded was is that the president has guaranteed immunity for like core presidential actions and possible immunity for contextual powers or implied powers or whatever it is. They didn't really define their stuff really well. They just kind of like left it at that. The problem with this is something absolutely understated. One of the core powers of the president is complete control, chief commander of the military. So that would mean, as Justice Sotomayor said in her rebuke of it, uh, the president can SEAL Team 6 their political opponents, and there aren't consequences. Not only that, but the president has, without limitations, somehow, complete pardoning power too, which means that the president can assassinate their political opponents, force lawmakers to do whatever they want, like undoing the 2-term limit, as well as election overseers by force of gun to do whatever they want in order to guarantee their perpetual power, and then also pardon themselves from any crimes as well as anyone who was working under them to do these things. That's part one. Part two is this, and then there's a bunch of other ones that we have to go over. Yay, politics. So the other thing is Schedule F under Project 2025. So this was a whole thing conceived of by conservative elites, if you will, various think tanks and that sort of thing of notoriety. And there's a number of things in there. It's a really long goddamn thing, but there's something in there that's particularly ominous, sort of like finding a needle in a haystack that you were like, this has nothing that could hurt me in it. And then it's like, there's the needle. So there's this thing called Schedule F. And what that allows for, or is projecting to try to enable, is basically a complete overhaul of our bureaucratic system as we know it, and the facilitation of the installation of cronies, loyalists, those sorts of things. The way that it works is that most of the federal government is not elected. They're people who are hired just through the administrations themselves functioning. And then you've got a small subsection of the federal government that the president directly oversees, right? So it's a really point to be here to clarify. There's the people that the president puts into power, and then there's the people that the president doesn't. Schedule F would seek to overhaul that system to say now actually it's going to be flip flopped, and the vast majority of the federal government will be able to uh, be directly hired by the president, just directly, like no middleman, no systems in place, no bureaucracy, nothing at all, just direct loyalists being put in. Especially if you get the right person in, like a gaslighting, narcissistic manipulator in power, they would do that. So yeah, I mean, I literally have a note here being like, it's not a Trump video, but ellipses. Yeah. So it's absolute immunity for official acts, presumptive immunity for outer perimeter official acts. And then there's no immunity for unofficial acts, but there's just a lack of clarification on where these lines are to be drawn exactly. There's also an episode by Legal Eagle, reputable legalese source on YouTube on the immune decision and all that sort of thing, the immunity. So I'll be putting that into the description. Oh yeah, and then fun fact: the House, the Senate, and the Supreme Court, right? So the collective government, it's all now run by conservatives. It's all Republican. It's all conservative Republican leaning. Uh, they're in complete control too. Fun fact. So yeah, just reading that. So it's all controlled now by a guy who's bragging about being a dictator on day one, just sort of FYI. So not only does he have complete ability on a practical level to be able to pull off a dictatorship, but he also seems to have the incentive to do so. I'll be rounding that off, that statement, with a statement later, and we're going to get there when we get there. But before we do that, I was wanting to do a quick review. Again, it's like I've done this sort of stuff before. It's going to be presumably mostly new information, but might as well do a review. It's been a while. So let's go ahead and look at some articles. Excuse the background noise. I live with people. So what is this? This is just, I mean, literally just reading right there. So there's a number of things that we could go through. This will be in the description. I just want to go over this first, though, as a signifier of the overt preference for his own friends. They're not even its own social class. It's literally his friends. He's a billionaire. We're going to talk about the Trump coin too, which is hilarious because he just became the 26th world's richest person. It sounds like late stage capitalism, right? Doesn't it? It's probably because it is. So this part right here, so about tax cuts that he did, he gave very, very significant tax cuts to the wealthiest 1%, and then gave temporary small ones to all the poor people, middle and lower classes. So just as sort of a fun fact, not only that, but he's known to be a union buster. He has a history of doing it. I'll put something for there in the description, the doobly doo, as it is known, because I like to cite myself, because I'm not a liar. So, yeah. Oh, and then here's this one too. So, not done, not nearly. Here's the next article. Get out of the way. There it is. Zoom was obstructing me, kind of like what Trump did. Ta-ha. Okay. So I'm supposed to quickly go through this. This is the title of it. Number one, subverting the 2020 election. So he went around perpetually talking about how this election was stolen from him, went from judge to judge, a lot of whom were judges that he had put in himself. And he was refused and denied each and every single time because of a just straightforward lack of evidence. They just didn't have anything. And it was so bad, in fact, that his legal team, Rudy Giuliani, even as well, was they were quoted as saying in court, by the way, we are explicitly not doing what he's saying. We're not trying to contest the legality or proclaiming any sort of fraudulence with the 2020 election. They literally said their quotes. There's quotes for that. And then he just went around from judge to judge, continually dragging his legal team around with him, saying like, "Hey, by the way, the election was stolen from you," which eventually led to the inciting of a riot, which is fun. That's number one. Number two, inciting insurrection. Oh, isn't that funny? Didn't I just talk about that? Yeah, there's that one. Abusing the bully pulpit. Anyways, politicizing. Yeah, there's a lot of different things that he did. Oh yeah, just really straightforward obstruction. Did I mention he's a felon? You know, it's so funny. The party known as the party of law and order, like they're really big on that, right? It's just then there's exceptions over there though. There's a lack of consistency. Um, it's really bad actually. It's like people can't think properly. It's strange. It's like their brains are turned off. I wonder why. So there's that one. And then, oh yeah, here's the actual insurrection itself. I want to go over this because it's interesting to note something about how this unfolded. So this is a timeline of the entirety of the damn thing. And we're going to go starting all the way over here at 1345 approximately. 1345, there it is. Protesters surged past Capitol Police protecting the West Steps, side facing the White House. Minutes later, an officer declares there is a riot at the Capitol. We're not going to give riot warnings. I said not, but there is. Sorry, it's late and I'm tired. We're going to give riot warnings, he says. We're going to try to get compliance, but this is now effectively a riot. So that happened. He was there, just by the way, FYI context, he was there. And then he left. Pence, by the way, was told this was, let's see, where did Pence, hold on a second, it's all about the mobs and stuff like that. There it is. So at, what is the time here? It was 14, somewhat 13, okay. So about a half hour later, he gets a call being like, hey, by the way, oh wait, hold on a second. Sorry, I'm incompetent and ill-prepared. There it is, not, wait, there it is. Yep, there it is. So at 14:26, 40 minutes later, not a half hour, 40 minutes later, Trump was told, like, hey, listen, we're evacuating the place. By the way, your own vice president, Mr. Pence, has been evacuated from the Senate floor. They've taken the vice president out. They have to go off the phone, blah, blah. So there's that. Now, there's an important note about this is that I want to say, hold on, the one momento uno momenti. So 1345, right? So I'll just go back to the beginning. So there's an important point about that. 13, gosh, diddly darn. Wait, I'm sorry, again, I'm incompetent. So 1345, there's where the riot starts, right? Just keep that in mind. We're going to go all the way to 15. There it is. So 1513, right here. Okay, so an hour and a half later, that is the only time. Anyways, that is the only time where, not the only time, excuse me, the first time. Again, it's late, don't judge me. The first time where he says anything at all to acknowledge what's happening publicly and to say, hey guys, you should like stop that. Yeah, I like that he said, respect the law and our great women, men and women in blue. There's a really funny video I'm going to show you guys in a moment that's not funny at all. And it's going to just be like a sort of a, hey, remember that like throwback thing that, you know, thing, remember? Anyways, so there's that. And then at 16, 17, he releases a video saying go home and shit like that. I know your pain. I know you're hurt, you know, validating a bunch of rioters. Oh, by the way, for context too, during the BLM protest that had happened during his presidency, I don't know, I was staring at myself. He, so during those riots back then, there was a very famous line that he had of when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Just in deep, deep contrast between that and the White Lives Matter, White Power protesting going on in Charlottesville, North Carolina, also during his presidency, where he was saying there's good people on both sides in Charlottesville. And I know you're hurt, I know your pain, the overt degree of sympathy for these people who had tried to violently overturn a election that, again, just for context, had clear lack of evidence to say that it was actually an unfair election that had been fraudulent and all this sort of stuff. Something will always happen. Someone will always, because this came out, right? It's like there might have been literally one person who like voted on behalf of someone who had already deceased, but widespread voter fraud, not a thing. No evidence, not at all. It's never been shown. It's just never ever been shown. Again, it's late. Stop that. So again, my brain is trying so hard, I promise. So I can't. Oh, there it is. Honestly, I actually forgot what I was saying. But in the very least, though, the last point that I had, hold on a second. The last point that I had was about the hypocrisy and contradiction, all that sort of stuff, the pandering to people who had, violently supported him. Those people. Yeah, you just, just kind of being like, you guys are fine, fantastical. Anyways, so right, yeah. So and also just sort of point this out because I made a note about it. It took an hour and a half for him to do anything about it. Wouldn't it be funny, like, just like hypothetically, like what would happen if you were to take like an actually good leader and say, you know what, that's happening right now. We should go back immediately. And I want to be in front of these people or just somehow react quicker to that sort of thing. Yeah. Also, just to also make a note about this. So there was a part about that tweet. He was like, respect our men and women in blue. There's a video. I think I might have already said this. Very funny video. It's not funny at all. Throwback. Gonna do that. Oh yeah. So check this out. So, just for months and months clamoring about the election being stolen and then he himself doing this. I remember this. So I'm in Georgia, right? That was done to like one of my own people. Taped call to find votes, to find votes, to overturn the results, to find them. Apparently, as well, vaguely threatening. Oh yeah, there it is, and vaguely threatening him with a criminal offense. Wow. Yeah, crazy, right? Yeah. Find him enough votes. Find me the votes. So just collecting together sort of like a case, right? It's like a case, like a court case, but I actually have evidence. Yeah, so he did that. It was recorded, which is hilarious. But it doesn't matter. Oh yeah, here's that video. One momenti. Yeah, here we go. So remember the whole thing about respecting men and women in blue? You would agree that it's never acceptable to assault a police officer, right? So then, if I can, among those who pardoned DJ Rodriguez, he drove a stun gun into the neck of a DC police officer who was abducted by the mob that day. He later confessed on video to the FBI and pleaded guilty for his crimes. Why does he deserve a pardon?
Well, I don't know. Was it a pardon? Because we're looking at commutes and we're looking
Okay. All right.
at pardons.
Hold on. Sorry, guys. I just, I'm stupid. My computer's stupid. It's this is an understand, can't talk right. Sorry. Okay, let's try that again. I might just cut this whole thing out, to be honest, or maybe not. I don't know. I don't really care.
So then, if I can, among those who pardoned DJ Rodriguez, he drove a stun gun into the neck of a DC police officer who was abducted by the mob that day. He later confessed on video to the FBI and pleaded guilty for his crimes. Why does he deserve a pardon? Well, I don't know. Was it a pardon? Because we're looking at commutes and we're looking at pardons. Okay, well, we'll take a look at everything, but I can say this.
we'll take a look at everything. Sorry, I just also the part of this is to call out logical fallacies. He does something very amazing here. He does something great, very politician like. He says, "We'll take a look at that." Doesn't say anything about, "Oh yeah, you know what? You're right. That is wrong. Actually, that shouldn't be." Nope. The whole respecting men and women in blue, it's a line. He's a sociopath, and that's going to be further made concrete through the rest of the next 5 minutes or so. But there's that. Also, by the way, beautiful, beautiful. I can't, I couldn't articulate enough how exemplary what he's about to say is of logical fallacies. It's called a red herring. And before you even see it, I'm going to explain it. A red herring is, you say to me, "Hey Jacob, you stepped on my foot. That really hurt." Just saying, like, FYI, like, you stepped on my foot, man. I do this sometimes. I'm sorry to everybody. So I'm not that freaking clumsy. Uh, I usually just kind of slam the people accidentally. So if you said that to me, and then my response was, "I'll look into that." No, but my response would be like, "Listen, I got to go somewhere. There's this other thing over here." And it's like kind of a repeated action. Maybe that's almost too good of an example, because it's like, "Oh, okay, well, maybe we can talk about it later." But even then, right? Imagine we keep talking about it. It's like, "Hey, it seemed kind of weird. You saw my foot and then you went like on, you know what I mean? You bring something up like that, like you did something wrong." And my response is, "Listen, this is ridiculous. Remember that time that and it's distraction. It's a distraction. That's what it is." I mean, I'm like, am I thinking of the best examples here for the red herring? Well, let me just show you. So this is a red herring, and he's smart enough to know that because he's an abusive narcissist. Do 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 do.
Murderers today are not even charged. You would agree that it's
So immediately switching the topic into, we'll look into that. Also, by the way, murderers aren't even charged, just completely derailing the conversation there. Also, by the way, just because it's kind of funny,
never acceptable to a solid police.
to a solid. Anyways, just thought that was funny. So there's that. Oh yeah. So here's the kind of nail in the coffin. So he's a felon. He's a convicted felon. We elected a convicted felon to the high to the most influential office. He's done so much. He's done so much. Like so many, like history of racism, sexism, the things he said about people, the things that he's just law and order, folks. Law and order. Remember that? Do you remember that? Pepper Ridge Farm remembers. He's a felon. Oh yeah, and then also he's a convicted rapist. Oh, sorry, I forgot to leave that one. So, I mean, you could cry. People have cried. People have cried over this. But it's also not surprising that he's done any things that he's done, right? I mean, he's bragged about sexual assault, was convicted for sexual assault. The judge called him a rapist. In the court case, I'll have to cite all of this stuff. It's a labor of love. Just me making a compelling case about how he's a manipulating, gaslighting, narcissistic sociopath. So it's not surprising. He's just a really bad person who's really good at manipulating and gaslighting people who don't know any better or should, and they just somehow their brains are turned off. So they aren't able to see very, very clear patterns of abusive behavior and unreliable behavior and just say, like, nah, he's the exception. So here's the conclusion. Thank God we're at the end. Dictator, question mark? It's not a joke. It's funny because this is supposed to be like a sort of like a video time capsule sort of a thing. In the future is going to be the future. I have no idea what's going to happen. The world could blow up tomorrow, or Jesus could come back to Earth. I don't know. But the moment in time where I'm in, it could be a thing. A lot of people could get hurt. Things I can't process emotionally. So, yeah. But ellipses. Hopefully, just a really selfish sack of shit. By the way, just not a dictator, but instead a selfish sack of shit who uses people to get billions more. Like with his crypto coin, he just released upon being elected. It's happened like last week. I don't even know. He he released, and his wife too released a fucking meme crypto coin because his followers are stupid enough to buy into it. I don't believe in calling people stupid like that, but at a certain point, you do kind of have to say this is a stupid pattern of behavior. It's not even a stupid action; it's a pattern of behavior. That's the action itself. Again, I don't like putting on people because the self is an illusion, and all of that, philosophy. But he's oh yeah, so because he was a billionaire beforehand, but now he's number 26 in the entire world. His wealth just skyrocketed. He's number 26 in the world, so there's that. And so hopefully he just simply leaves office nice and fat, like a fat cat, waiting for the next person to come in and continue the plutocracy instead of doing the obvious thing of fixing corruption. So, FYI, plutocracy, what is that? It's not a democracy, I tell you what. Plutocracy is a society ruled by rich people. It's just that. He's a billionaire. He's invited into his inner circle, his cabinet, just billionaire techno oligarchs, basically. And yeah, instead of doing the obvious thing of fixing corruption, he said so much during his first term he was going to drain the swamp, and then he just like didn't. He also said that he was going to build a wall and then have Mexico pay for it. That also didn't happen. And then I somehow saw, swear to God, this was a real person in a debate like style video. A person say the exact words. This is like verbatim. Anyways, everything that Trump says he's going to do, he does. That was a real person. That was a real person with a brain who could speak English. A literal head scratcher. Or maybe I just have lice. I don't know. Anyway, so there's that. Sorry, Casper, for droning on about fucking politics. But yeah, to be done. Political awareness hurts sometimes. But it's like going to the doctors or the dentist. That's a better example. It's like going to the dentist. It's like a necessary pain. So I mean, if it happens and Trump becomes a dictator, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna very, very quickly change my tune and I will absolutely lick the shit out of that boot. Daddy. So step up. How's the business going, by the way? Throwback, the not that throwback. There's a new throwback. Anyways, so there's a new throwback. Anyways, sorry, just a lot of jokes in my own head. I don't know if Casper, if you're getting any of these. I'm so sorry, dude. It's late. I'm not really trying that hard. Okay, I'll stop talking. So let me continue talking. The business has been interesting. It's this thing is gonna be so fucking long. But I don't give a fuck. Whatever, Casper. Just gonna have to sit there and take it like a good little boy. Bang bang. And we won't werewolf. It's a reference. Don't worry about it. So it's winter time. There's so much I could say here, and I want to keep to a key few points. I literally just wrote down how the business is going. Like, cool, sweet, bro. You really helped yourself out there. organization is not my strong suit. But anyways, as you can tell, I have heard stories of my peers, of people who are in similar positions to me many times, actually, many times. And I have as well a good deal of evidence. I mean, a very good deal of evidence because I've surveyed hundreds of times going to people, namely like face to face sort of like events, networking stuff, whatever, and asking them, do you want to work with me? And the answer has been pretty consistently, actually, I estimate it's insane. And I know why it is, but it's still kind of insane. The initial yes, it's like herding kittens in order to be able to get them to actually work with me. But the initial yes has exceeded 95%. The 95% acceptance rate. That is batshit crazy. That's nuts. That's unheard of. That's not normal. That's actually not normal. It's actually exceedingly, exceedingly not normal. It's not normal at all. Well, and there's one reason why. It's just one reason why. The literal way that I introduce myself, quite with a good deal of regularity, is, "Hi, my name's Jacob, and I run a not-for-profit to help support and rescue kids from sex trafficking." And the moment that I say that, it's been particularly notable in some situations, but the moment I say that, people just start listening. And there's this saying in business where in order for you to get someone to be your client, your customer, whatever, they have to know, like, and trust you. In that moment, what happens is they know me because I introduce my name. That's like, hey, I exist. That's a no. They like me because I just said I run a not for profit. And who wouldn't like somebody like that? And they trust me because of the exact same reason why they would like me. Now, it's very important to note this is not sustainable. It's not at all. Not at all. Not one lick. I know what I'm talking about. You don't. Shh. Listen. It's not sustainable in the sense that you couldn't just perpetually go on saying, hey, we do this, and then just show no evidence, right? Because you have to understand the way that I've been going about this. It's not just simply saying I run a not for profit. It's we give 100% of the profit away. We cover our base operating expenses, paying for our employees, for example, and then literally everything else goes towards that. Those things, charities, just that. People ask me as well, like, well, what about yourself? And I explain, like, I cover my base operating expenses. I cover my base living expenses, which currently right now is, without getting into nuance, sub $2,000 a month. So that's what that looks like. Now, the point is that to pull this off long term, to make this actually possible at all, is that it has to be proven and shown, which is a part of the building and the relationship stability that you're able to find with doing this sort of a thing. Now, all of that said, hundreds of people have said yes, hundreds, and that goes so far. I'm not even going to tell you I've lies. I'm not even going to tell you. I'm not even going to tell you how far that goes and what that means. The implications of that are fucking crazy. I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say it. But I am going to say this. It's been dead. It's been actually pretty dead. It's not. December was a pretty bad month, and January we're like two-thirds of the way through it, and it's also pretty bad. It's not really doing anything. Now there is a seasonality in terms of real estate, and that is true. But something is awry here. I mean, it's just not good. But all that said, I'm still doing crazy ass shit. I'm still looking to hire. In fact, actually, arguably, I've already hired somebody. And this is a part of also how the business has gone. I've already hired somebody. I'm not, I am able to, but I'm not where I wish I were to be in order to be able to pull this off as well as I wish I could. But I'm winging it. And I have the ability to pull it off. It's just not where I wish it were, sort of a thing. But real estate is seasonal. Come the springtime, I could be inundated. I mean, again, if I could, my calculations are insane, but I mean they're real though. That's the fucked up part. So there's so much I could say about my competitors and how they're doing and how fast they've grown and all these different stories of people. I mean, I met somebody. It's insane. I've met someone. Ugh. She was a person who was featured by the uh, semi mentor that I have. Oh, by the way, hold on a second. Wait, look at it. Anyways, so by the sorry, I'm a bit of a narcissist, a very stuffy one too. Okay, so I met her at an event that I went to. She was featured on like it's crazy. She's from Florida. She was featured on a video uh, Q&A style session that my semi mentor that I know but who doesn't know me sort of a situation uh, put on this video, right? She was there. She's been on actually multiple times. The story she gave, the math she gave, the things I've looked into are insane. And I'm not going to say them yet. I'm not going to because screw you, Casper. It's called freaking patience and also suspense. So it's just a waiting game. It's just waiting. I'm looking forward a lot to the next 3 months. I think the next three are going to be really fundamentally changing to the landscape of which I tread. Ooh, poetic. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. And other than that, it's kind of it. This has gone on too long, anyways. But before I close out, I want to do something else. So this is another. I mean, there's so much I could talk about. I mean, there's I'm literally making a note about some other shit I have to talk about, but this is one of the things that I wanted to be able to point out um, about kind of where I've been in the headspace sort of way, about where I've been mentally and how I've been progressing and changing, evolving, becoming, arguably. This is one example of that. And this is something that I do with a very serious regularity. I listen to this sort of stuff. This is one example that I'm about to show you, Casper. This is this is it's just gonna be like me and Casper looking at this crap later on, like years from now. Anyways, so this is one example of a strategy I've undertaken in order to be able to further catapult myself towards my own goals. This is something that I've listened to regularly. Not this particularly, again, this is an example, but it's something that encapsulates my mindset, of which I will be for you, Casper, always unfurling for you as time goes on and the videos progress and come out. They debut. But this is just an example of kind of where I've been at.
In any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. When you entered the fifth round against Kelvin, you said, "You're not going to beat me. I'm prepared to die."
By the way, that wasn't itch. He was trying to say inch. Not like I could really judge. I mean, the number of times I went, during this video. But in any case, yeah. So that's an example. And there's about 50 others that I just listen to on repeat, just moment by moment, just while I'm working out, working again later. It's been perpetual. So really kind of just to say I'm crazy is kind of the thing. I'm so kind of proud of myself. I made a note of don't say and I've been pretty good at it this video. Not as good as I wish, but pretty good. Other than that, though, this video has gone on surely far, far too long, and I'm sorry, Casper. It's just been a minute. I had to give an update. I mean, fuck, we just got. I mean, if it wasn't for Trump, right? What was it like half the video, But yeah, the next 4 years are gonna be very interesting. This whole fucking thing's gonna be fucked up and weird. I don't know what's gonna happen. I want to be optimistic, but I don't know. It's kind of like I can't think of a better analogy than like a video game. The video game that you put yourself into, that you play, perpetually has these moments of intense suspense, struggle, and hoping to not sound callous towards the real pain that will eventuate from these sorts of happenings, like with Trump and shit, given what he's done, right? Separating kids from their moms and fathers. Um, on the larger scale for humanity, I'd like to say that this is one of those moments where we just have suspense. It's just suspense. I'm not gonna lie, I've said this before. I'm kind of waiting for aliens to come by and just kind of fix shit. But I don't know, it's kind of crazy though. I mean, I could really talk about because there's actually been some sort of activity on that front about like, are we actually being watched? This came out 2017 or some shit like that years ago. Pentagon came out with all this sort of like loose evidence saying like, what is that flying around? And it's like definitely not ours. So interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. The real question is, are they good or are they bad? Because if we're so stupid to perpetually elect and put into power people who are just blatantly not good people, because maybe something's wrong with our ability to feel empathy, what would prevent another alien civilization from having like the same shit? But then they're like thousands of years, if not millions, into the future from us. And they just didn't ever get rid of bad people in power. And so what ended up happening was everybody kind of turned out to be a piece of shit, or their society was just permanently locked down, dominated by sociopaths. I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting ride though. Worrying, a very worrying ride, and there's a lot more I could say on that one. But now is not the time for that because it is late and I still have more to do. But till next time, and to close out, Casper, to remember, you can't forget your why. You're constantly reminded of it. So without further ado, good day.